guest of today, an IBMer, and is Paul. Ciao, Paul. Let's start from the beginning. So when you learn about mindfulness and its existence and benefits.
For me, I think that mindfulness is really about self-awareness and refreshing. So kind of just being conscientious of ourselves and pretty much everything that we're doing. So without defining it as mindfulness, I was always aware of this need or this space. Mm-hmm. But it was a few years ago actually that I was at an event, and I had the pleasure of actually being introduced, let's say officially, to mindfulness by a good guy from Istanbul called Erhan Ali Yilmaz. And so he introduced it to me, let's say in the official way at this event. So pretty much everywhere I went, I wanted to spread the word. So when and where possible, we would have mindfulness sessions, if not weekly, as often as possible with the teams that I interacted with, just so that we can, again, be conscientious and be effective actually in the workplace. Woman or man, it is impossible to multitask, and yet we're all trying to do it on a daily basis, unconsciously on our way to work when we're not physically present, we're not actually mindful, we're lots of times on autopilot, and we know the dangers of that, especially when you're behind the wheel of a vehicle. We've pretty much created tunnel vision individually for ourselves with all of these distractions that we have. We on a constant basis, we're always tied in, so we really need to make these spaces for mindfulness.
You mentioned autopilot. And we've sort of evolved to have this autopilot in order to become more efficient thinking machines. And in a lot of ways, it helps us, right? It makes life better, more efficient, more productive. Sometimes our health, right, suffers because of it. Do you think that mindfulness can make you more aware of these habits and these autopilots that you have, and that it could help you form healthy, better autopilots? So driving the car, you do autopilot, you do your thinking, you're being distracted, but you've formed a habit that every time you brake or every time you're at the lights, you breathe. And that's sort of the autopilot becomes mindfulness, if that makes sense.
It's about what you said, creating the habit. And we know all of the math about how long it takes to make a habit and whether that's a good or bad habit. One of the first things that was mentioned by Erhan in his presentation was about the habit of brushing your teeth in the morning. Good consequences from that are really even unseen. Most of us, when we turn the car on, either the radio is on automatically, or we put it on, or we put a CD in, or we listen to some music. But I've chosen to use my time when I'm driving usually as my only quiet time. We do have to live in a very busy world. We do need certain things to be on autopilot in some sense. But controlling what things we can kind of switch on and off are important.
There is always this need to get engaged with something. I think that this multitude of things and distraction we have is not helping us to learn the real beauty of being with ourselves only.
The ability to be distracted is still there, no matter where you're from. And trying minimize all of these distractions, that's usually not what people are striving for. People are striving for being connected, having the latest devices, being as involved with as many things as possible, because there are benefits to that. That's why millennials are the most experienced generation in mankind's history, because we had these abilities to travel cheaper and be connected and see and experience more. So it has its benefits.
And what is then mindfulness for you in your everyday, right? How do you practice?
I would say since I was introduced to mindfulness, the biggest change for me would be the speed of my thoughts. We listen to respond, not to understand. If we're in a meeting, if we're at work, we're just in this autopilot mode of listening to quickly answer and give a response rather than listening to understand. Mm-hmm. And so that's one of the areas I would say I've really slowed down in the sense of being mindful. And if you don't take those moments to slow down, you will just be stuck in that habit of constantly saying things without even really knowing why you're saying them sometimes,
I do a lot of physical sports, and you basically have, breathing in, breathing out, second by second. So just stopping for a second, taking a breath, just quickly scanning the body, relax more, stiffen here. It has tremendous benefits on your overall performance, and then be better prepared for that next moment.
The hard part is to remember to do it, and that's where practice comes in and helps to remember more often.
That autopilot we talked about in the beginning.
Yes.
Make it a habit. Right? Cool. Thank you so much for sharing with us, Paul, and with everybody else. It's good to have you.
Glad to be here, and looking forward to the next sessions.